Hey all, I'm super excited to be here. My name's Patrick. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Iteratively. We help teams collaborate to ship high quality analytics faster. But previously I was on the growth team at Atlassian and worked at a few different startups. I'm here today to talk to you about how to set up customer health scoring as part of product-led growth. So what will you get out of today's talk? We all want long-term successful customers. And I'll show you how to set up health scorecard together for your business so you can truly understand if your customers are getting the value from your product or if they're at risk of churn. So let's dive in. First, we'll talk about product-led growth and the importance of PQLs. We'll walk through creating a scorecard together and how you can create your own. We'll look at how you can rank your leads to maximize your ROI and how to set up alerts and automation on top of all of this. Lastly, I'll leave you with some recommendations and tools to get started. So why now? Product-led growth has flipped things on its head. Folks buy software differently nowadays. They don't want to be sold to. They want to try your product before buying. The best way to sell your product is to get your customers to experience the core value as soon as possible. Once they've done that, you can double down on converting them as a customer. And if you have a freemium or free trial on your product today and you don't know what customers are getting value, you're in a world of hurt. Who do you engage with? With thousands of customers, this can be hard to manage at scale. Ultimately, instead of closing deals, you're wasting your time and money chasing bad leads. This is where product qualified leads come in. This helps you spend your time and energy on those who have already activated within your product. Previously, teams used MQLs or marketing qualified leads based purely on demographic information, but there's a better way. So what does activated mean? Activated means those folks who have already discovered the aha moments within your product that will likely lead them to convert. For example, in Jira, this could be creating a project, creating issues, publishing your roadmap, inviting your team, or completing a sprint. And this all leads them to the aha moment of getting them to convert. So how do you know which actions in your product lead to retention? You need to look at your product analytics. If you have your features instrumented correctly with a tool like Amplitude, you can use a compass chart. So let's take a quick look at how you gather this data in Amplitude. So I have my test demo instance open here. So we're in it lead tunes within Amplitude. So I'm going to go create a new chart. I'm going to go down compass. Again, so the compass helps you find thresholds of user behavior that predict long-term retention and ultimately lead to growth of your application. Who doesn't like that? So let's create a compass chart. You can see right away that this is set to predict second week retention. And right away you can see that edit profile has a 0.5, so it's highly predictive of second week retention as well as downloading song or video. So in the Amplitudes example, you can see what events are more predictive of second week retention. And some things here like end session, start session, you'll not want to look at. This is just going to be noise. And so you actually want to tie this with qualitative research, which we'll talk about in a minute. Again, so this is one way to do it. If you use a tool like Mixpanel, or if you have your own data analysts, they can use tools like Looker to help run some of these predictive models. Okay, so let's just jump back into the presentation. So again, we just looked at how you'd be able to use a tool like Amplitude to actually find a correlation of what events lead to retention. But it's important to make sure that you can trust your underlying data before doing analysis. I strongly recommend creating a tracking plan and doing an audit of your existing instrumentation. So once you've identified the features that lead to retention, you need to combine this with qualitative research from talking to your customers to understand why these actions are leading them to be retained. If you know the what without the why, you're in a bad position. You need to do the research. This will help you set up an accurate customer health score. But remember, correlation does not mean causation, so you can't just look at the data. You need to combine it. Okay, so now that we have the features that are correlated with retention, and we've done our research by talking to customers, let's incorporate what we know to create our account activation scorecard. In this example, let's look at Acme Corp. What are the things that they need to do in Jira to become activated? First, they need to create at least one project. You can see that I've included the analytics event that we're going to be using to measure this outcome. Second, they need to create at least 10 issues. They need to transition 5 of those issues, and they need to invite their team. And lastly, they need to integrate with their existing tools, so things like Slack and Bitbucket. And as they go through this and start completing this journey, you can see their account becoming activated. And now, ta-da, Acme is activated. So you can create a scorecard for user activation as well. For example, a user activation scorecard might include if they've installed the mobile app or not. It's important to know what percentage of users in an account are active. I'd recommend starting small on this and not overthinking it to begin with. Again, the goal here is to create something useful for you and your team and iterate on it over time. Now, let's get started creating our product engagement scorecard. So you might be asking, what's a product engagement score? A product engagement score helps you understand the health of an account and the value that they're getting from your product over time. So while activation is primarily focused on the first-time experience to get them to experience the core value, engagement is focused on are they actually deriving value over time, even when they're a customer. So again, we activated, but the worst thing you want to see is this drop off after an account has been activated and they're not getting the value and they'll eventually churn out. So similar to how we created our account activation scorecard, we need to identify the actions that indicate that someone is getting value from our product. By tracking the score over time, we can determine if the work we're doing is improving overall engagement. So for example, in Jira, the key events related to moving work forward are issue created, issue transitioned, issue updated, and issue commented. Additionally, we care about expansion within an account. So let's track project created and user invited as well. We weight each one of these events based on their value and frequency. Higher frequency items generally have a lower value. So while issues are engaged with quite a lot with customers, things like project created and user invited are less frequent, but high value actions. We then multiply this number by the number of times it occurred in a given time period. The total of all our individual event values will be the engagement score. And when you combine your activation and engagement scorecard, you can start to rank your leads to figure out what companies you should engage with. Again, the goal here is not to waste your time tracing bad leads or getting excited about a new fancy logo that just dropped in. We want to make sure that we're focusing our time and energy on those that have the highest likelihood of success. And as retention is the #1 SaaS metric that a company should focus on, especially with everything going on now with COVID, at Atlassian, we had an entire growth team dedicated to helping nudge customers to experience the core value. These nudges allowed folks to get help without needing any intervention from the team. And were driven by product analytics and the actions or lack thereof that customers took in the product. We'd provide them customized help and tours built right into the product. This aligned with the low-touch support model at Atlassian and scaled to millions of monthly active users. However, in some cases, you'll likely want to trigger an alert based on the change in account health score to notify your sales and customer success team. This gives your team an opportunity to reach out and get them back on track, preventing regrettable churn. And again, health scoring isn't just for sales and customer success though. It's something that your entire company can rally around. From realigning your roadmap to measuring how the work your team ships impacts customer health. So what are the top recommendations to get started with health scoring? First, create a tracking plan to get tabs on your product analytics. Second, define your activation and engagement criteria based on these events. Third, rank your activated accounts based on engagement. Fourth, build alerts and automation based on changes to your health score. And lastly, socialize and get buy-in from your team. While this might seem simple, this is probably the most important step. If folks aren't bought in, they won't use it. So what tools and resources should you use to get started? Shameless plug, but check out Iteratively for managing your tracking plan. It will save you tons of time and make sure you have high quality analytics from the start. And it integrates with the tools you already use. If you don't want to build and manage your own activation and engagement models, the folks at Sherlock have built an amazing product that is easy to use and provides visibility into your team by plugging directly into Slack, Intercom, and HubSpot. Lastly, not everyone can afford an amazing growth team to create personalized product nudges. If you're looking at ways to improve your onboarding and personalize your product experience, check out Userpilot. Here are a few more articles if you're interested in diving in more. If you don't have access to the slides, a quick Google search, these articles will show up at the top. And that's a wrap. If I can help in any way, feel free to reach out or schedule time on my calendar. Thanks again. Cheers.